On the agenda tonight, we're going to be taking a look at George Harrison and Paul Simon performing Here Comes the Sun. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So I believe this performance is from back in 1976 and I am going to be jumping into this one, so if you guys want to watch it the whole way through without me interrupting it, there's a link in the description below as always. And I've got a feeling that we are going to be busting the acoustic guitar out because there's a lot of work going on here on the fretboards, but let's get them up on screen and see how they get on.
Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. I say it's alright. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, I say, well, it's alright. Little darling, the smiles returning to the faces. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, I say, well, it's alright. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes.
So I'm just going to jump in here and we get this great sound of the two guitars. It sounds like Paul is actually detuned, so he's gone down to the octave below so that we get that, what effectively would be the D, but I think we are capoed on the 5th fret here. I'd have to go back and have a little check if that's correct, but that would mean that the key, I'm talking about having a D shape, for example, higher up the guitar, it means that that's no longer a D chord because you've got the capo on the guitar. So if we are fretted at that 5th fret, it means that that'll be in a G. So if you're playing along in standard tuning, it's great to see a performance of George with Paul. And when you're watching George perform, you really do get an appreciation of what a unique artist he was in his own right. Because it's easy to think of George in the Beatles, but then when he's out of the Beatles, and you can say this for every single member of the Beatles, after they finished, you got an appreciation of how unique they were just by themselves, and probably it gave you a great appreciation of why they were so good together, because they had so many different influences and so many different skills, but in their own way, just great musicians, but great songwriters. And that's exactly what you got with George Harrison and Paul Simon. And when you add these two guys together, you get such a great performance. And it's going to sound totally different to the original with Paul's involvement, but the fact that he can add in that second guitar, and he's playing fingerstyle here, so it means that he's going to be arpeggiating the chords a little bit more in order to make that melody stand out on the guitar as well as in the vocals. And that's a huge part about this song. is that melody running through the guitar parts the whole time. We're not just strumming straight chords here. We've got loads of, sus2 action going on with our chord shapes, which we will get into in a second. We're just going to jump straight into it just so I can show you. I mean, this isn't going to be an instructional video, so I'm just going to show you the basics and just busk my way through it as we used to do. Thankfully, we can do it again now. So we are now around this D shape, and like I said, this is going to be a G if you're playing it in standard tuning, but I'm going to refer to all the shapes as they are at the bottom of the guitar so that you guys can just get straight into playing this. And capo is on the 5th fret, as I suspected earlier, so it means that we've got this D shape, and we've got this approach of already having the sus2 on that high E string. That kind of approach to it. And what I love about this song is if you're just learning to play the guitar, you can attack this in various ways. If you are just starting out and you're just practicing your chord changes, then you can just stick with your straight chord shapes. Even going to the straight A rather than the A7th, which it is in the song. But you can just play around with it, and it's a great one to get used to moving between the chords. So we've got this, that kind of approach, and if you want to, you can be catching that with the upstroke like that, and that's catching the B string like that in order to get the melody in there. So now just completing that, we've got, we're now going to what would be your G shape in standard tuning without the capo, and we're hitting that open B string with an upstroke like that. And I think that George is playing this with his second finger like that, because then we have, he kind of places that third finger on the 3rd fret of the B string to get that, and then into that A7th. So altogether we have this, and then we have the same thing pretty much going on. That second time, you might even want to throw in that slightly different way of playing it, which is going from the B string to the high E string. What I'm saying here is you have a lot of options of what you want to do here. So once you start getting more confident with that upstroke, you can start to throw in more of the melody. For example, straight off the bat, if we went like that, a subtle upstroke on the B, kind of like that. Or if you're playing it like George, we have the second finger coming over, and we've got that little run like that. Second fret down to open string, 3rd fret the B, into our A7th, into the sus2, back into the A7th. So that. And it's up to you how much of the run and the melody you want to throw in there. But you can simplify it more, you can make it more complicated. That's the great thing about this song. And you'll see that here, with the performance, they chop and change between how much they put in, how much they leave out. And there's always some kind of melody going on with the guitar. And that's what makes it so interesting to listen to, because you have lead melodies in the background being added to rhythm and a vocal and a harmony vocal. So there is so much going on. Just to address as well the changeover to the E7th that we have, where we've got this. So we've got that reverse of the riff, and then we get into the G again. Same little rundown into the E7th, into the D, and now we have this little run up where you'll see George just slide up his guitar, and that's going to be on the G string, like that, and he does a little run there, and then back into the D. So piecing that all together, it means that roughly we've got this, E7th, kind of back into the D, and that's obviously a busking type version of it, but even with that you can see how much is going on with the picking. And when we get into that slide and little pull off there, back into the, and you're back into the rhythm. So there's plenty going on here technique wise on the guitar. And let me just throw in that we've got singing happening at the same time, which I always say doubles the difficulty, but there's plenty of stuff here to get your teeth into from a guitar playing perspective, let alone the vocals that we're treated to as well. But we'll jump back into the performance where we left it and watch it till the end. I don't think there's too long to go.
Little darling, I feel the ice is slowly melting. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been clear. Here comes the sun, here comes the sun. I say it's alright. Here comes the sun, here comes the sun. I say it's alright. It's alright.
And there we have it. Another thing you can say about this performance is that George and Paul make this look really easy. And it's not. And I think a lot of people will underestimate, especially if they don't play the guitar, how difficult to play this and sing at the same time is. They absolutely nail this performance, and the vocals are great as well. It's so easy to listen to because it's in that talking space. They're not really pushing their range up high here, and with Paul's tone that he has, it really does complement George's voice. I know that we have had a lot of guitar in this video, something that we haven't done for a very long time, but I think it's important to show just how much is going on the fretboard. We even have this little rundown from the F, C, G into the D. So we've got this, oh, kind of like that. Again, a bit of a busk in order to get that all together, but there's so much in there that when you hear that kind of thing, because we've got lead notes going on effectively, it means that that's the voice we're listening to. And if we were just listening to chords being played, kind of like that, or going, you're not drawn in as much, and this is what happens with the melody being played on the guitar throughout the whole song. You're drawn into the performance more, because when you're strumming a chord and nothing's changing with that chord, your ears and your brain gets used to that chord. So it means that there's no voice. When you talk, your voice naturally goes up and down in pitch, so it's always interesting to listen to because of that change in pitch. When you start talking like a computer and you keep it all on the same level, you just get used to this and it becomes uninteresting very quickly because nothing's changing pitch wise. It's the same with a chord. If I'm going and you're just hearing the same thing all the time, you get so used to that you don't really have any interest in it for any length of time once you've heard it a few times. If I go, even that, something popped out. Once you start throwing in more of that, it means that you can now play the same chord for a longer time and keep the interest because something's constantly changing. That and just having that little run makes all the difference. But that's the thing about this song in general. There's so much going on with the guitar that is keeping you interested that once the song's finished, you just want to listen to it again because there's so much melodically going on here, from the lead vocal just interacting with the lead voice of all of these notes that we get on the guitar that very much do pop out because of the ability of the player. And that's something that George Harrison maybe wasn't as well known for, his guitar playing ability, but certainly when you're talking about his rhythm playing and blending in these lead lines, it's really important to distinguish the difference between being a great lead guitarist and a great rhythm guitarist. They aren't the same. Like, somebody that can play great lead guitar isn't necessarily a great rhythm guitar player, and vice versa. But here you can see that George is just throwing in these all these little lead lines that are so cool while playing the rhythm at the same time. There's so much to look at just on the guitar, let alone the vocals. But thank you guys for suggesting and requesting this video for me to take a look at. As always, let me know what you guys think and keep those suggestions coming in the comments section below. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!